if you just joined, please put your name, your school, and your department in the chat, and I am going to get us started. So my name is Christina Kenichi. I am the Director of Growth and Partnerships at Basta. And in my role, I work with higher education institutions and post-secondary institutions to help get them access to our resources, our discovery program, and everything that we are offering students. My colleagues are going to go ahead and introduce themselves in the chat as well. And this is office hours. So I do have some slides to share with information, but this is your space to ask us whatever questions you might have about G-SWEP, about Code2Career Challenge, about the application process, about selection criteria, anything that might be on your mind right now. But I will kick us off with a couple of slides just to kind of ground us in some information. And just in case, we did notice a couple of students registered for this session. So just a reminder, if a student is in the audience, this is really focused towards the school's application process. So we don't really have any answers for students right now. Your application process will be in January, and your school will be communicating that to you. If you want to see and make sure that your school has applied, please go to your computer science department or your career services department and let them know they can apply by November 27th. So with that, why don't we take it over to the first slide, Corrine? So we are very excited to talk to you about the Code2Career Challenge with Google, but I am sure some of you are wondering, like, how did we get here? What is G-SWEP? So I'm going to start there. So at Basta, in case you're not familiar with us, we provide career readiness programming to first-gen students and BIPOC students. And we found, giving them this career readiness program, that many students had an interest in technology-focused roles. So with Google, we really realized that there was a mutual need that we could fill for our first gen and our BIPOC students to help them with practical learning experience for the technical interview. And that's why we created G-SWEP, which was is originally based in New York. And with G-SWEP, Corrine, if you could show the next slide, we had some really great results. So, we learned a couple of things actually pretty quickly. We saw that 100% improvement in students' coding skills, like right off the bat, and also an improvement in their ability to master the technical interview process. 90% of our students reported feeling more job prepared for the search, and they started securing tech internships and full-time roles in some top companies. We have a couple of those that we can share for you. So these are some of the companies where our mentees and our students were getting internships and jobs. So with this great success, we wanted to expand this opportunity to campuses and students across the country. And that is why we created the Code2Career Challenge. So I have more information about the application process, but I just want to stop here, check in with you guys, let me see if anybody has any initial questions about G-SWEP and how we got here. Just take a peek in the chat. I don't see any questions. All right, let's keep going. So the Code2Career Challenge. Now that we've expanded nationally, what we are offering is access to both Basta's career programming and Google's technical expertise. So that will come in the form of mentorship to select students at select higher education schools. So that's what Code2Career is. It's your chance to apply to become one of our first national partners and give your students access to this incredible opportunity that we have been able to create with Basta. And what is the value of that? So what are they actually getting, right? I'm sure people have some questions about that. So students are going to receive, well, if you actually, let's start there. As a G-SWEP higher education partner, your students are going to gain exclusive access to all of our G-SWEP programming that we started in New York. So if accepted into the program, your students are going to get personalized one-on-one interview coaching and mentorship from a Google software engineer that they are personally paired with. They are going to be able to improve their technical skills through weekly tech interview trainings and hands-on preparation for that technical interview. And they are going to hopefully increase their confidence going into those technical interviews, because they'll be both supported by that Google software engineer, as well as the access they get from Basta's personalized career navigation content, insights from our Seeker career diagnostic that guides students on their career readiness journey. And in order to participate and become a partner so that students can get access to this, we have a little bit of a schedule here for you. Thank you, Corrine. So right now we are at that second colored box. We are doing our office hours, but the applications are going to close on November 27th. I know many of you have applied already. That is amazing. We're super excited to see all the applications come in. We will announce your acceptance the first week of December. And after that, we will onboard you and your staff so that you understand what is required of you as a partner school. And I'm going to share more about what that onboarding experience looks like. But the last step in that process is the G-SWEP student application period, which will be January 13th through the 27th. So what are some of the requirements, or what are we looking for in our higher education partners? So the first thing is we want you to be able to promote G-SWEP to your students. So we need you to be able to send emails and communications that we are going to give you in order to basically let students know that this is happening, and so that they can apply and take advantage of the entire programming and suite of resources. So we're going to need you to send reminders and updates about G-SWEP as needed, and attend some virtual higher ed partner touch points. So those big touch points are basically going to be that onboarding experience, as well as 2 to 3 check-ins January through May, and a program wrap up in June. So ultimately what we're looking for in our higher education partners, after, like, when we are reviewing your applications, is a mission alignment to Basta and to G-SWEP for, noticing the needs of first gen and BIPOC students, staff capacity to promote the programming and promote it specifically to your first gen and BIPOC student audiences. And we want to ensure that you will be able to bring a critical mass of students. So we don't have a minimum requirement, but we do want to make sure that it's like a good investment of your time. And our hope is that, through your internal promotion, we can get at least 10 students on your campus who are participating in the program. What is that student timeline? So for students, thank you, Corrine. As I mentioned, once you're onboarded, you're going to start to send out those communications. And the onboarding is really just going to be like, what are these communications? When do I send them? What do they look like? Do I have any questions about when I need to meet with Basta staff? Once that happens, students will apply between January 13th and the 27th. We will use their application as well as a code signal assessment. So that's where we're going to test their ability to code. So between their application and the assessment, we will see if they're considered eligible, and then we will decide who will be accepted into the program. So those students that are accepted into the program will then participate in orientation and kickoff in early March. The programming will run through March 10th to the 16th, and then it will end May of 2025. And if you are wondering what some of that student selection criteria is, we do have a little bit of information about that, because we want to make sure you're fully in the loop. So once they do apply, we're going to look for the following things on this screen. So we want to make sure that they are enrolled or they have completed data structures and algorithms. We want to make sure they're proficient in coding languages, that they can do the time commitment of 4 hours a week, that they are available for that weekly one-on-one coaching with the G-SWEP mentor, and that they're able to demonstrate coding proficiency through the assessment, that code signal assessment that I mentioned. So the reason why we are looking for this specific criteria is we want to make sure that students will be set up to make the most out of the experience. And in working with Google, we feel like these are the things that they will need to have in order to really take advantage of that programming and make the most out of the experience. So that is our initial bit of information about what Code2Career is, how you can apply, and how your students can apply. So at this time, I would love to hear any questions that you guys have so that we can answer them. Please feel free to come off mute or type them into the chat. Let me know what's on your mind.
I have a question. This is
Sure.
Kathy. I'm sort of raising my physical hand.
Yes, I see you there, Kathy.
Okay. Now you said you're looking for 10 students per campus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know we have 3 with actual coding experience. Is the 10 hard and fast? And the reason I ask that, at Jarvis, we are a liberal arts school.
Mm-hmm.
We do have cybersecurity and computer information systems, but they are what I call survey courses.
Mm-hmm.
You get to learn about these things, but you don't necessarily learn hard coding.
Okay.
And the students that we have identified, they have come to Jarvis with that experience already. They know whatever languages, whether it's Java, C++, whatever it is, they came to Jarvis with this experience. That's why they're first in the queue.
Yeah.
Now, how hard and fast is that rule of 10 if we don't have more students that are here with that experience? Like, I can think of maybe 2 more.
Okay, that's a great question, Kathy. I would say we don't have a minimum requirement. We do really want to get to 10 students. In your case, because a lot of this is, what is the investment that you're putting in on your side, right? Are you sending on a ton of emails out and nothing's coming back? If you specifically know that you have these 3 students, right? And it's
Yes,
target
and maybe
very closely,
2 more.
maybe 4, then I think that'll be fine. I would definitely still encourage you to apply.
Okay, because we applied and we have those 3 students lined up, and there are 2 more that are part of our NABA team. This is where we're getting these students.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 2 more who are in cybersecurity, but I need to speak with them to find out if they already have coding experience. So maybe we can get it to 5.
That would be great.
Okay.
Check in with them. Let's see what we can do. There's still a ton of time, but I would submit your application. I do see some other hands up. I saw Nikita, and then I saw Miriam and Lisa in that order. And then just, drop them into the chat too, because we can, some of my colleagues can answer them in there as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nikita Williams from Loyola University, Maryland. I'm just really sitting in the meeting just to learn about the program and just to get some questions answered from my VP. So she said that she went and checked on the application, but was not able to see all of the questions that were in the application. She just wanted to get some clarity on like the type of questions that are in the application, all that it entails, and how does a university actually stand out to be selected?
Got it. Okay, so she wanted to see in advance before answering them.
Yes.
Chris, I'm gonna let you answer that question because I think you worked very closely on what those questions would be.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And yes, I mean, I think it's helpful to see them, but what you can do is you don't have to complete the application in one sitting. So you could just, kind of put in some, initial responses and scroll through. There's only, I think, about 4 or 5 screen tabs. So you can go through and see what those questions are if you do feel like you need to see them, kind of in their totality before submitting a response. But just know that you do not have to submit the application in one sitting. So you can go through, see the questions. And, really, we're just trying to learn a little bit more about your interest in the program. As Christina mentioned, we want to make sure we can assess mission alignment with Basta, with G-SWEP. And, trying to get a sense of the size of the population that you might be working with, your ability to communicate with them so that we set you up for success as a hire as well. So hope that helps.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And I did see one question in the chat that I want to make sure everybody is aware of. This is a free opportunity that we are doing with Google. So they are specifically partnering with us so that universities and colleges can take advantage, and other organizations as well. I saw that question too, but ultimately both Google and Basta want to help as many first-gen and BIPOC students as possible, improve their skills, improve their ability to really master that technical interview, because we know they don't have the same social capital resources as other students. Okay. Lisa or Miriam, I know I've seen your hand up for a while.
My question is, so I know it's a partnership and a commitment is required, and we're willing to do that. So my question is about the, what the partners will do in terms of like the sessions, the check-in and, you know, without the dates, just if there's flexibility with that, because we do a lot of programming, so info sessions, career, you know, whatever's going on, you know, I don't know if there may be conflicts and, you know, with our own programming, so I just wanted to see that there was flexibility with some of the, check-in and appointments and things that we have to do on our end.
That's a great question, Miriam. The most important thing is that you need to have the capacity to send out those communications, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to get in front of students, right? So if you can do that, that's great. We do need you to come to check-ins. We are going to be this isn't sorted yet, but we are probably going to offer like maybe a couple different times so that folks come to different ones. We do want to make it flexible. I don't think it's going to be a hard and fast, this is the only day that you can possibly check in with Basta. But ultimately, you do need to have that capacity to send out those communications and to be flexible in your ability to join check-ins and that wrap up at the end.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
I'll jump in. I have a couple of questions. I just had the email about your program forwarded from our VP of Student Services. I'm the chair of the computer science department. I kind of ran it by a couple colleagues who were walking by and they're like, definitely do this, Lisa. So I'm excited about it. I did do a quick, you know, tab through the application. For others, you just do have to put some blank spaces or some characters to get to the next page, because it does check that you're answering the questions, but you could always go back. The questions I have, you mentioned having data structures and algorithms completed for the students to participate. And we have a data structures course that students take in their sophomore year. And it doesn't cover, it covers just basic searching and sorting algorithms, but then we have a separate algorithms course that they would take, you know, when they were juniors. And I don't know if after they finish the data structures and like baby algorithms, if that's sufficient for them to apply, or would they need to complete our algorithms course at the junior level? And also, like, what year students are you looking for? So I have a few questions, but that would be the first one.
Yeah, got it. Clau, please do jump in or correct me if I am wrong, but I believe they do need to take have taken some form of that algorithms course. So that would be more of the juniors for you. It does vary school to school when those courses are available. So I'm hesitant to say like it's going to be juniors for everyone. But Clau, what are you seeing in range of students right now who are participating?
Yeah, that's a good question. Hi everyone, I'm Claudia. I currently manage the current G-SWEP cohort here, and super excited to see everyone here and your interest for our next cohort. To answer that question, to add on to what Christina mentioned, majority of our students are within that junior and senior age range for that reason, because they've taken more of those classes. They have a stronger understanding of data structures, algorithms, etc. There are a handful of students who may be a little bit younger, but that's why we ask for a graduation date in the application, and why we also have that technical assessment to ensure that students have at least a basic understanding, so that their one-on-one sessions are productive with their mentors. Yeah, and again, if anyone here is like, oh, we really have a lot of freshmen and sophomores that could be interested, right? Our goal is to continue to have this program for years to come. So students may not be eligible now, younger students, but they will certainly be eligible for future cohorts.
Thank you. The other question I had was, I have two other questions that I don't want to, so one is about the students. You said, so if we're selected and students are chosen and then they're meeting with their mentor, are they able to schedule that around their schedule? Our students work like 30 hours a week and are full-time students. So carving out that time is going to be like really important. I didn't know if there was flexibility or they kind of have to know that the meeting time will be at this time during their semester.
I can take that question. Yeah, so the one-on-one sessions will run between early March to right before Memorial Day weekend. And what we do is we set up the initial meeting between mentees and mentors, right, at a time that they have agreed to mutually. And then they decide when their meetings happen on a weekly basis from that.
Okay.
That is up to them because, to your point, students may be working full time, they might be in school full time. So that part, they'll be able to work around their schedules.
And the students are doing that one-on-one with the mentor. It's a one-to-one relationship, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And my last question is, in terms of commitment from our department, do we need any faculty involvement that I would need to work towards rallying up for folks? I mean, blasting the message out and getting students interested in applying. As chair, I'm fine with that. I didn't know if we would need any other.
No.
No. Okay.
We just need to have somebody, and maybe that's you, Lisa, that's going to be able to attend those check-ins and the wrap up and send those emails. So it doesn't necessarily mean we need all of your faculty to be involved. We just need to know you have somebody there that can do those things.
Okay, great. And we are like, I think 1 point away from it being a Hispanic serving institution. So I'll put that in for the numbers, but I can't check that box, unfortunately. So, but I'll put it in the description. So thank you.
Juliana, I see your hand up. Do you have a question?
Hi, yes, thank you. I was wondering, I put in the chat how many students are accepted into the program, and I'm wondering, so once you're accepted as a school, is there a limited number per school that students would be allowed for? So are you only accepting a certain number per school? And then I also was just wondering, after this spring semester, is it going to continue again in the fall, or do you have to reapply as a partner school?
Oh, that is a great question. Okay, let's start with the first one. We don't have a cap on the number of students per school at this time. And I will preface this with also saying this is our first national expansion year. So in terms of like, will you have to apply again? I would say we will probably have a modified, less lengthy version of the application to make sure you still have the capacity the next year. So I'm not 100% sure what that process would be, but I mean, if you're accepted as a partner 1 year, unless something drastically changes the following year, I would say you're pretty much on board with us.
Got it. Thank you. So it's really just this upcoming spring is like the first time for it, and then from the future you'll see.
And then we'll check in with you to make sure you're still meeting that qualification requirements.
And to
Thank you.
Christina's point, since this is our first year running the national expansion, we want to make sure that it's a fruitful experience for our partners as well. So I think this will be a lot of shared learnings together to make sure that we're continuing to build and improve on this program. So, but G-SWEP is offered multiple times throughout the year. So we do run a few different cohorts throughout the year.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I have a quick question. In terms of the timeline, we would send information to the appropriate programs. We would identify the students, and then we would complete the application. If we're under 10, that's okay. I'm at NYU, and there are 2 programs that we're looking at, Tandon School of Engineering, and then the School of Professional Studies, which has an undergrad information management program. Is that 2 separate applications? Because there's 2 different schools?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say no. Kareem, you
Okay.
look like you disagree with me. Hold on.
No, I mean, I guess I would love to understand better, how closely do they function? Like, do they operate completely separately in the sense that you will have to have 2 points of contact, sending out the communications, pushing
You would
out?
have to, you're probably going to get more students from the tandem side,
Mhm.
undergrad. But yes, you would have 2 points of contact if there were any students that, once we send the
Yeah.
information, that express interest and meet the criteria. So there would be 2 points of contact.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you could share that in the comment section, we ask about your plans for, supporting G-SWEP. So, rather than having 2 separate applications, I
Yeah.
would encourage you to submit 1 application and note that this is inclusive of 2 separate programs and that you've identified the 2 points of contacts that we would need to work with in order to push out the information for G-SWEP on the campus.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think this is somewhat related, because I'm representing the Career Center, but the computer science department, can they have a contact or is it 1 contact per school?
We're so ideally we would want the contact to be the person that is most familiar with the students, so that when they see that email come from that person, they are inclined to open it. So I would say it would be 1 contact for school, Miriam, and that person would you'd want that person to be someone that the students are going to recognize. You can definitely apply from Career Services as long as you have communicated with the computer science department.
Yeah, I definitely send out the communications
Okay.
for them. Yeah. But I
Okay.
just didn't know that, because I know that they have someone in the computer science department as well. Although the Career Center, we send out most related to careers, jobs,
Career
everything.
opportunities, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I was just wondering about that.
And hi, I see a question in the chat from Carol, and I just wanted to make sure that we're understanding your question. So if you don't mind, would love to, kind of just voice over and talk through that. The question, Christina, is how would we
I understand. So yes, so Bottom Line has alumni that are going to be at different universities, right? But I know for a fact, Bottom Line New York, I've talked to Michael who works there. They are going to be applying. So in terms of how we would navigate that, that's going to be an affiliation for it's going to come up when the student, Michael's your boss. Oh, great. Hi, Carol. That'll be an affiliation that we work out with you on the back end. Basically, who is your student hearing about the program from? If they are hearing about it from you and applying via you, they're going to check off that they're with Bottom Line. That process will be wrapped up into onboarding to make sure it's not confusing for both students and, staff that are participating with us.
It looks like we have a raised hand from Satya.
Yeah, hi. I'm Satyanarayan. I'm a professor at Cal State University, Monterey Bay. I came late, so I apologize if some of this was already addressed. So I have 2 roles. I'm a professor in the CS program at CSUMB, but I also run an institute called Computing Talent Initiative within CSU Monterey Bay, and we work with students from across the state. So we run actually somewhat similar to what Basta is doing, but career preparation, kind of internship preparation, problem solving. So we actually do data structures and algorithms more from an interview preparation point of view. We have some curriculum and we teach students. We do mock interview practice with them, industry mentorship. We do some open source development experience for students. We kind of give them open source experience for during the semester and during the summer. This is very interesting. I'm very excited to see what you're all doing here. Is there a limit? I think somebody maybe asked this question. Is there a limit in the number of students per school? And if I applied as Computing Talent Initiative, can I announce it to students who are at different CSUs or UCs across the state who kind of work with us and under our institute umbrella? I'll just actually stop there, and then please ask me questions if I'm not clear on the question I'm asking.
Let me make sure I understand that before I answer your question. So you have your school, but you're also working with other umbrella universities across the state, right? That is a very unique case. I think what I would want to do there is, I think we would need to talk via email a little bit more about how the schools are organized, so we could understand if you should be submitting one application, or if we might need something from another school, or how we are going to affiliate with them. So I have your name here and we're recording this. I'm going to follow up with you afterwards and just get a little bit more information so we can figure out how that application would be submitted.
I just sent an email to you also when I was.
Oh, great.
So there will be an email from me. So please
Wonderful.
respond and we'll find a time. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Take care.
No problem. I see some questions in the chat here. Let me answer them. Okay, so we have some questions around the algorithm class for sure. And what else is here? And I did have a class in data structure. So for the algorithms class, if they have not had an algorithms class, I would say they're probably not going to have enough of what they need to fully take advantage of the programming. Clau, what has been your experience thus far with students coming from New York in terms of like selection criteria when we're, evaluating whether they're going to be accepted or not? Because for folks that don't have that algorithms class, I don't want them to, waste some of their capacity applying for something that students aren't going to be accepted to.
Yeah. So that's part of our student application. We ask them as well as a variety of questions, and we have the assessment. So we use a combination of all those things to assess students and see if they're eligible, right? So it might be that they're not taking the class in your school, but maybe they have taken it on their own or practice, right? Their assessment will show some of that understanding. So that's why we do that kind of like two-piece application process. I know that's not a direct answer, but that's how we go through the student applications to ensure we have they're meeting a basic requirement to be in the program, right?
No, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Because based on what you're saying, what I would say to you folks is we don't necessarily know what training they have also done outside of the classroom, right? So since we are evaluating a number of things, I would definitely say still apply if they haven't taken that course, because they might still be able to be accepted based on their own individual work or knowledge.
Yeah, and I see the follow-up question. Can you talk about what the application is like for the student beyond the assessment requirement? Happy to. So I think Karine, you're sharing the slide. Can you just go back one more or two more? And one, yep. Right. So for the students, they'll receive our application starting in January. So the application itself is not that long, right? We'll ask them their foundational understanding and, again, data structures and algorithms, coding, grad date, school, things like that. Once they finish that, we will reach out to students who have applied and send them the code signal technical assessment. So this is where they'll be able to show their technical know-how. That assessment is reviewed by our team as well as our application and the Google team to make sure students are coding correctly, that they have understanding, right? Make sure that they're not using outside information, that this is their code. After that, then they'll receive either an acceptance, waitlist, or rejection email. We'll have an orientation, and students then will have the one-on-one weekly sessions with their Google software engineer. Each of those sessions will look different depending on the student and the engineer and what they want to accomplish together over the 10 weeks. Throughout that process, students will have surveys and assessments just to make sure like they're engaged, that they're growing in their understanding. So that's the process. I know that's not exactly like what is the application. That would be a lot of things to go over, but generally speaking, application's pretty straightforward. And then after that, there is a technical assessment that they have to complete.
Thanks, Clau. Christy, I also see you've had your hand up there for a bit.
Is there a practice assessment I can provide for students? I have a cohort of 200. I provide academic and career advisement. And is there any prep that I could give my students prior to them with the assessment, or you just want it straight from the assessment that you're giving them?
Yeah, we haven't done practice assessments. We send it to students when they apply. So we haven't done that. That's a great question. What I can say to that is students should be coding on their own, right? Like if practicing from classes, right? If they're doing projects for class or with their friends, if they're at internship, things like that, practical experience is really helpful, but we don't send out a practice assessment beforehand.
Okay.
Thank you for asking though. Appreciate that.
And I do see a question in the chat about a contract. So we are going to have a not a contract, but an MOU for you all to sign. Because we will want to make sure that, you know, when you are agreeing to do like the promotion, for example, that you can actually do that. So yes, we will have a very like one-page MOU for you to sign. Student graduated. Catherine, your question, if they graduated from my college and transferred to a school that is not in a G-SWEP. Catherine, so Catherine's question is if they've graduated from her college, but they've transferred to another school that is not in the G-SWEP program, would they still be able to apply? They do have to currently be enrolled in your school. So they would then, your alums would then need to apply if they're at a different institution through the school that they're currently enrolled in. Nikita, I see your hand up again.
Yes, question. So there is going to be, so basically you need someone from your partner, organization partner to have someone, a point person to have the communication with students, basically, I guess, to help kind of keep them on track. But is there any way that a student or a partnering organization would be released from the cohort in the middle of the cohort before it actually ends, or how is that tracked?
Oh, that's a great question. So what you're saying is there an instance in where we would release you from the contract in the middle of the G-SWEP programming?
Yes.
So since this is the first national expansion, that has not come up thus far. The way we typically work with partners is you would have to be like in breach of the MOU that we're signing. So for example, if we have been sending you communications to send to your students to invite them to the application process, but we haven't heard back from you, and then the application closes, that might be an instance of where we wouldn't be able to continue to work because we're in breach of the contract. But I would say it really hasn't come up thus far. In my lane of university partnerships, Clau, has that come up in the G-SWEP process at all on your end?
Sorry, I was in the middle of answering a question in the chat.
Oh.
Can you ask me the question?
Sure. Is there any reason why we would be releasing a partner school in the middle of the G-SWEP programming? And my answer was just that they would need to be in breach of our MOU. So for example, we are sending communications to them to send to students and we haven't heard from them and then the application closes. But just with G-SWEP thus far, I was wondering if that has happened before because I'm just trying to give Nikita a more thorough answer.
Yeah, no, okay, and again, this is like the first time we're doing it this way, so it's new. For generally speaking, majority of students stay engaged throughout the whole program. I think to Christina's point, like if there is a drop in engagement or we're not hearing back, I think that would constitute that happening. But generally speaking, things run smoothly. Again, unless there is like an attendance issue or someone can no longer commit, those are the things that would make a student drop. I would say similarly for a university partner, right? If things aren't going as they should, as we agreed to, that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else top of mind for folks? You guys actually, these are excellent questions. One of the other things that we will be doing in case you missed part of this, we're going to be updating our FAQ with all of the questions you've asked during this conversation. And we're also going to be sending an updated version of that to you. And the updated version will be on our landing page as well. So just in case you've joined late and you're wondering what some of these questions are, we're going to continue to add on to our FAQ because this is so helpful, such great questions that will really help frame the rest of our application process. Yes, we can share these slides, Lisa.
I'm sorry if we said this. This is for undergrads only, right? It's
Yes.
undergrads only? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from folks who might have joined a little late? Happy to answer something. Again, if you need any more assistance. Also up on the screen is my email. You would have probably already received an email from me if you're here, unless you came from the website, but please do, shoot me an email if you have any questions. Happy to continue to answer them and help guide you through the process.
I had a question.
Sure, Danielle, what's up?
So I'm in workforce computer skills, not necessarily my background, but I'm just curious. So we also participate in the Google certificate program, and I'm wondering if and I can dig some more and talk to our faculty, if any of the Google certificates would get the students the skills they would need for this program as well.
Wow, has that come up in the application process before?
No, and I would imagine it would depend on what the certificate is, right? Like, and if the students have it. So I think if you gather more information on that and send Christina a follow-up, we can dig into that.
Yeah, because I was thinking like there's a cybersecurity certificate. And like I said, I haven't looked through all the curriculum. I'm just not sure what we offer because we're a 2-year college, what we offer in our program, but I can look at those as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we'll follow up on that piece too, like as we mentioned in the chat regarding community colleges or 2-year colleges as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I know I've said this already in the chat, but just in case you missed it, we are going to share this deck as well as the recording after the call. So if you did join midway through, you will be able to also rewatch this and see those updated FAQs for any more additional information, as well as, of course, just shooting me an email if you have a question. Okay. If that's it, I don't see any other hands up. So if those are all of our questions for today, then just thank you so much for joining and considering applying to the national expansion in our Code2Career. We are very excited to see your applications and review them. So glad you came and asked these great questions. And again, we will share this recording, the deck, and an updated FAQ via email. And just a final reminder, if you haven't applied yet, the application closes on November 27th. Thank you, guys.